So when the Legends found that message in the Wave Rider from old you saying don't trust Barry Allen, he was talking about Savitar Barry Allen. And oh, it's all coming together in the worst way.
Hello and welcome everyone to yet another one of my The Flash videos. Now in this video, I'll be discussing all these little discrepancies about Savitar and how the iterations of his story do not all add up from the moment he first speaks to Team Flash on the 9th episode and all the way to the end. There's also the theory posted by Reverse Fuhrer, which you'll find linked in the description to this video, which discusses the possibility of the existence of two different Savitars in the timeline. I'm gonna be discussing this possibility even though I don't really agree with all his conclusions, but nonetheless, I think the guy might be onto something here. Before I venture any further though, I'd like to remind you that it is always much appreciated if you drop me a like if you end up liking the content of this video, and if you subscribe if you want to see more of my The Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, and Legends of Tomorrow videos. I would also like to remind you to click the bell-shaped icon underneath this video, that way you would get notified when any of my new videos gets uploaded. Alright, so let's circle back to the topic of this video. On the 21st episode of the 3rd season, Cause and Effect, when Barry went back to Star Labs and informed everyone of the identity of Savitar, Cisco started throwing theories around. In a manner of speaking, it felt like they were fed to us as facts, so there's always the chance the show was trying to feed us any kind of BS on the spot to fill all the plot holes there. But for starters, there was his comment that Barry's 2056 warning message was all about Savitar, which I've already discussed in another video. In the video linked on the end screen to this video, you'll find enough details as to why I think the message must have referred to any other event or villain rather than Savitar. Yet here's one more reason that I failed to mention in that other video, and that should definitely cut the debate short. Before Barry managed to figure out who Savitar is, and before HR effectively changed the timeline by replacing Iris on Infantino Street and dying in her stead, Barry visited his future self on the 19th episode, The Once and Future Flash. Now during his first conversation with his future self in 2024, he informs him that all he needs to know is the identity of Savitar. The future Barry responds with the fact that he can't tell him because he doesn't know who Savitar is. That just means that Barry couldn't have possibly sent this message about Savitar from the future. There's no way in hell. But with the discovery of the whole background of Savitar as well, Cisco starts building this whole theory about how Savitar came into existence while ignoring one tiny detail. Savitar existed pre-Flashpoint. He does state that much in his first solid conversation with Team Flash through the connection Julian has with them on the fall finale. So the whole thing is not just about Barry fighting Savitar 4 years from 2017, but rather about Barry pre-Flashpoint fighting Savitar 4 years in the future, getting the time remnants to help him, and shunning the last man standing after defeating and imprisoning Savitar. In that particular scenario as well, Iris never actually died. Her death in the new post-Flashpoint timeline is all about Savitar wanting to push Barry to the edge to make sure he would either become him or get the time remnants, and in either case, he would be born in this timeline. That is as well why he ended up wanting Cisco to modify the Speed Force bazooka to make sure that he could replicate his existence throughout time, from the Big Bang and all the way until the end of time. It was all about the paradox that he wanted to avoid reaching him, as he stated. He has necessarily been erased from existence with the erasing of the pre-Flashpoint timeline and the creation of Flashpoint, followed by this whole new timeline. The only thing that kept his existence as Savitar, the final product of his trials and tribulations, was the fact he was in the Speed Force then, where time is linear. Now even if we ignore the fact that time is linear in the Speed Force, you can always think of it as more of an Earth X. And just like the cases with Earth 2 and Earth 3 and the multitude of other Earths within the multiverse, nothing changed with Flashpoint and its reversal. Only Earth 1 was affected. Now on the 9th episode, the fall finale that is, Savitar mentioned he originally fought Barry before Flashpoint. That Barry made him who he is, that Barry imprisoned him in the Speed Force. He did not reveal the Speed Force part of course then, but hinted at it. He then went to state that he found a loophole when Barry created Flashpoint, one that allowed him to get out of the Speed Force once Flashpoint was reversed. In the meanwhile, we got the background story of Julian becoming Alchemy, one that in a summarized manner stated that once Julian saw a vision of his sister, he went on this Indiana Jones hunt for what ended up being the Philosopher's Stone. Now that kind of makes you wonder, if the Philosopher's Stone was of such importance to Savitar, and if it is the kind of thing that got him summoned and a piece of which ended up bringing him back to the world, once Wally tried using it to take him down, why did Savitar not keep it on him? And how did it end up lost in translation up until the point when Julian found it? I'll circle back to this in a moment. Now on the full finale as well, Garrick stated that Savitar is said to be the first man to have ever been granted speed, that he's the god of motion, that before he graces any earth with his presence, he sends a predecessor to prepare for his arrival, that being alchemy in this case. So let's connect all the dots and fashion a possible theory out of them. For the purpose of the rest of this video, I'll use the name Barritar to refer to the Savitar we watched on the 3rd season of the show, and Savitar to refer to the character in general. So we've now established Barritar existed pre-Flashpoint, that he didn't have the Philosopher's Stone on him then, and that Savitar is the first man who's ever been granted speed as per the myth that J. Garrick relayed. We've also established that his return in this timeline was all about avoiding being taken away by the Black Flash. He's pretty much an Eobard Thawne, erased from existence and awaiting execution at the hands of the Grim Reaper of Speedsters. So what if the Philosopher's Stone did not belong to Barritar in the first place, and what if it was the loophole he uncovered as the timeline changed? In other words, what if Barry's time remnant was an impostor Savitar, one who took over the mantle and suit of another Savitar who has existed prior to that point in time? I'm speaking here of the Savitar that the myth that Garrick communicated with Barry was all about, the one who was actually the first man to have ever been granted speed. The Philosopher's Stone could definitely make for a good loophole as well, the one thing that was missing for him to become a full-on god, to become an exact replica of the original Savitar, bending all these acolytes to his will. The stone definitely seems to have a connection to the suit of armor he wears, and with the reversal of Flashpoint, Eobard Thawne might have actually thrown Barry in this variant of the timeline where Julian existed. And with this being the case, Julian would go out of his way to find the stone and bring back Barritar through the connection it has with a suit of armor. After all, Thawne was never fond of Barry, and in this particular case, he would want to see Barry suffer, especially with the Black Flash on his tail, and all because of Barry in the first place. Now on one hand, we can rely on the theorization of Cisco, which is flawed at best, considering he ignored the very important factor of Barritar existing pre-Flashpoint. But on the other hand, we can write it all off to bad writing and one of too many flaws with Season 3 that I'm yet to speak of on a dedicated video. But there's also the possibility that a piece of the story is missing, a piece that could sort it all out and put it all into perspective. Now I might be reading way too much into this next part, but it is worth noting that Savitar is known as the god of motion to J. Garrick, but every reference Savitar makes to himself and Helium makes to Impostor becoming Killer Frost are about him being the god of speed. Now as I mentioned a moment ago, I might be reading way too much into this one, but nonetheless it is part of the whole picture. So what I'm trying to say here is there's always the possibility that there was once this man, first man ever granted speed, Savitar, the god of motion, one hell of a myth throughout time. Then there was Barry Allen and the loop of Savitar in the pre-Flashpoint timeline, and finally the events of Season 3. And once more, this is just another man's theory that I groomed a bit for your screens. It might be far-fetched, but then again, so are the many discrepancies on the 3rd season of the show, and finding some satisfactory closures for all these plot holes beats having them on our hands. But with that being said, let me know in the comments what you thought of this video, let me know as well what you think of this theory, and whether or not you think there's a chance 2 Savitars might have existed over time, one of whom happens to be Barritar. Now I have a lot of videos planned for the upcoming few days, including a video on who Caden James on Arrow might be. There's also a video on a possible leak on who the villain of the 6th season of Arrow might be, and when I say possible, I mean nothing confirmed yet. So it is pretty much something I've read about online, nothing more, nothing less, so I'll be discussing said villain in that video. I'm also working on a video discussing the possibility of a second Warcraft movie coming to existence. I'm an avid World of Warcraft player and I'm keen on seeing more of the game's lore come to life in more movies. Now in said video, I'll be discussing the chances of Warcraft 2 happening, arcs it should explore, and how they should market it this time around to make sure future sequels have a chance of coming to life as well. But finally, I'm working on 2 Flash videos, one discussing Godspeed and the Speedster Academy, and the possibility Barry's 2056 message has something to do with the Speedster villain. The other one will be all about the major Easter eggs in the 3rd season of The Flash and how some of them might materialize in the future. Do let me know though if there are any specific Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Defenders videos you want me to upload over the upcoming period. I'm not running out of ideas yet over this long break, considering I can barely upload 1 video a day or every other day, with the possibility of 2 per day on the weekends. However though, I'm bound to run out of those at some point, and I honestly don't want to talk about absolute bullshit like who would win a race, Cheetah or the Flash, just to fill airtime. I'm also getting a new desktop over the next couple of days, which should help me improve the quality of my videos, seeing as to how my desktop is currently dying. So expect other kinds of videos besides the usual reviews, still geeky, nerdy stuff, but nonetheless, non-TV and movie based. There will probably be some videos about games, Heroes of the Storm more than any other game to be honest. Now based on the fact that I've gone through a whole huge learning curve over the past period in creating my videos, I'm planning to upload videos on how to create decent thumbnails and decent audio for your videos. So remember to like this video if you liked its content and subscribe to this channel if you want to see any of these future videos. And until I see you next time, thank you all for watching and have a wonderful day.